For those who just joined us, if you missed chapters 1 through, what is that? 1 through 6. Hey, Angel, what's going on? You missed chapters 1 through, hold on, let me see where we at. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, 1 through 6. So now we're at 7. Again, a lot has happened, but essentially, if you chimed in at 1, you would have realized she actually ended up marrying Devon, and she's going back in time, explaining the story to you, Jackie, which is the main character, explaining the story to you of how she ended up with Devon, which is the last person she thought she would end up with. So in the last chapter, Devon, like after they graduated, he kind of felt his manhood. He rolled up on her like, yo, Jackie, what's the deal? And so Jackie was kind of shocked. And then she decided to write this note to both Trevor and Devon to kind of settle, the issue. And so we're going to pick it up from there. Chapter 7. Feel free to let us know how you liking the story thus far. And like I said, I'll be probably reading other stories because I kind of miss reading a little bit. We did the Lev Project for like 1 whole year. And as I said, it was much heavier material, but I do have some books that I want to read, that I bought, that I haven't read yet. So I guess if I dedicate this time to reading, then I'll be able to move through it and share it with you. So anywho, chapter 7, this is Island Love, an urban coming of age tale. All right. So here we go. I woke up the next morning completely wired. Oh yeah, and she's trying to find out how now she's going to get out the house to be able to deliver this note. I woke up the next morning completely wired. I spent the whole night torturing myself, listening to love songs and playing out all of the scenarios where I revealed my crush to Trevor and imagining how he would receive it. But no matter how nerve-wracking it was to think about how he'd react to my feelings, getting out the house was the more immediate problem. How was I ever going to get an opportunity to see him and let him know how I felt if I couldn't even get past the breakfast table? I could already hear my parents acting out their morning routines in the kitchen. Ah, yes, the library. You could practically see the light bulb go off when it came to me that asking to go to the library was my get out of jail free card. Recently, I had taken an interest in Middle Eastern culture, and my parents knew, and I wanted to research it further. I was sure that they would allow me to go to the library because anything that had to do with learning was an automatic pass. I retrieved the 2 envelopes from my dictionary and sealed them and placed them into my bag. For graduation, my parents gave me a classy new leather book bag to start college. I wanted to look the part, so I decided to pull it out for my library escapade. On my way out the door, the phone rang. Begrudgingly, I turned back. Another unspoken rule in my house was that if the phone rang while any of us children was near it, we were obligated to answer it no matter what we were doing. So I did. Hello, Brown residents, I answered dryly. Oh, sorry. Hello, Brown residents, I answered dryly. The ecstatic voice on the other end made up for my lack of enthusiasm. Jackie, she said, calling out my name triumphantly. This time I got it right. Is your Auntie Dolores again? How you do? Her again? I scrunched my face, waiting for the pleasantries to be over so that I could politely hand the phone over to Mama. For reasons unbeknownst to me, this lady, who I absolutely have no recollection of, wanted to chit-chat with me first. Did your mother tell you? She asked excitedly. Parents can be fickle, always concerned about being embarrassed by misbehaving, unruly children. Mine were adversely opposed to the concept of a picnic government. I couldn't afford for anything to go wrong, so I decided to hold back any smart remarks. It took everything I had to answer nicely, in an appropriate little girl's tone as not to sound grown. No, she didn't, I responded after much deliberation in a practically kiddie tone. Well, I'm coming into town. We have a wedding reception to go to. Your mother told me she's busy and not in the mood to go abroad. So she suggested I take you with me. Me? I answered too quickly to hide how absurd this sounded. What in the world? My parents went from having me under lock and key to allowing me to go out with some strange woman who says she's my auntie. I had a date with Destiny, the library. Nonetheless, I politely cut the conversation short and asked if she would like to speak with my mother. Mama, I called out before she could answer. Auntie Dolores is on the phone. I handed my mother the receiver as I hurriedly flung my bag over my shoulder. I leaned in to kiss Mama on her cheek, but she waved me off. I motioned that I would be back soon. She smiled and continued to talk on the phone. I had to plan my activities strategically. I didn't want to lie about having been to the library, so I had limited time to swing by Trevor and Devon's block and pray that they were out on the stoop or something. What was I going to say? Should I just hand them the letters? Should I say something or just smile? I stood in front of my building for about 5 minutes trying to figure out the best strategy. Just as I deliberated, the wildest thing happened. I saw Devon walking up my block again. What is he doing over here? Familiar butterflies immediately began fluttering wildly from my belly into my chest, making my heart race. There was no doubt about it. Devon is becoming a wild card. Devon is becoming a wild card. I did not want him to pull another stunt like he did the other day. I quickly walked off my stool and headed the opposite direction. I knew he would follow me. I was counting on it. This way I could lure him away from the watchful eyes and ears of my neighbors. As I crossed over Jefferson and First Street, I could hear Devon panting heavily behind me. Stop, Jackie, wait, stop. I finally slowed down and turned around to face him. Oh, hey, Devon, how you doing? I said it as if seeing him for the first time. I know you saw me, girl. Why are you playing hard to get? Devon asked, still unable to fully catch his breath. You got a brother out here breathing heavy trying to run you down? I resisted the urge to chuckle because the truth was that as a friend, Devon was kind of cool. He always made me laugh, and ever since we met in the 6th grade, we got along, but only as friends. For some reason, I didn't feel, know the vibe for him as a love interest. At any rate, I liked the attention he gave. Confusing, right? Especially considering the fact that I had a crazy crush on his cousin. Don't judge me. Jackie, I'm going off to college early, taking some summer classes, and oh no, what should I say? I needed to stop him before he tried to pull another stunt like he did the other day. I remember the letters I had with me, one for him and one for Trevor. Quick, Jackie, say something. Devon, please don't say another word. I have something for you. For me? His eyes lit up like someone called his lottery number. I told him that I couldn't stay as I talked. Sorry, I could told him that I couldn't stay as I reached in my bag and pulled out the sealed envelope with his name. Read it and we'll catch up some other time, I said, and ran off before he had an opportunity to object. Whew, that was close. But I was glad that I saw him and was able to give him the letter. Now that I had Devon out of my hair, I needed to see if I could accidentally run into Trevor. I walked past their block, but he wasn't there. I decided to go around the corner to the basketball courts, hoping that he might be shooting hoops. I was running out of time because I still needed to make it to the library before going home. As I approached the courts, I saw many young men with slender and athletic builds playing. I looked carefully to see if any of them was Trevor. Off to the left of the court, there was a group of girls in halter tops and shorts, cheering from the benches. My eyes drifted back to the game to see if I could spot him. Nope, he wasn't there either. Disappointed, I turned to leave and make my way to the library. Looking for someone? I heard someone ask. The voice was low and masculine and unmistakably Trevor. My own breathing became irregular. I felt feverish, and although it wasn't a hard question, every muscle in my body hesitated. It suddenly occurred to me that we'd never really spoken alone before. Come on, Jackie, be cool. Slowly, slowly, I coached my legs to be steady, silently begging them not to collapse beneath me, and turned with poise. Finally, I was face to face with my crush, and he had spoken to me. Oh, that's right. He did speak to me, didn't he? What do I do? What do I say? How much time had already passed? He'll think I'm an idiot if I just stand there staring at him. Hey, how are you? I blurted out. I'm good. Just coming to shoot some hoops. What are you doing here? I couldn't say stalking you, so I came up with something that sounded less creepy. Well, I was passing by. It sounded awkward, yet it was plausible, so I went with it. But I'm glad I bumped into you. I can't stay long, but I have something for you. For me? He asked. They were the same words that his cousin had just spoken a few minutes earlier, but they felt so different. Trevor didn't seem excited, just confused. For me? Sorry, I said it right. Yeah, I wrote you something. I said, fishing through my bag and retrieving the remaining envelope with Trevor's name on it. I gave it to him and told him that I hope to see or hear from him really soon. Ah, I want to scream, jump, flip, and do the moonwalk all at the same time. Mr. McGladbag boss. When I finally got to the library, I just checked out a few books on the Mediterranean and made my way home. This was the best day I've had, well, since ever. I was too hyped. Nothing could bring me down today. As I entered the house, Mama was getting dinner on the table and Dada was listening to the nightly news. My brothers were home from classes and playing their music loudly in the back. At dinner, everyone was sharing how their day went, and Dada noticed I was in a great mood. Ah, I was sweet, you so princess, he asked. I just had a great day, I said, sighing happily. Well, I'm glad you feel good, said Mama, because after dinner you have to fit the dress I have been working on. Your Auntie Dolores is coming up from back home, and you will be accompanying her to a wedding reception this coming Sunday. Sunday coming? Is anyone coming with me? I don't even remember this woman, I asked. No, we can't make it, but we want you to go and bring our congratulations to the family. They used to be our neighbors back home, she replied. Dada, why can't you come? I pleaded. I have to work overtime that day, and your mother is not up to it. What about the boys? I asked, grasping at any hope that I wouldn't have to go, or at least not go alone. They already had plans, and it was short notice. So there it went. My good mood usurped by some strange woman's, sorry, my good moods usurped by some strange person's wedding and an estranged auntie from back home. Hey, Vladimir, what's going on? Welcome to the reading of Island Love, Urban Coming of Age Novella. This is book 1. We're on chapter 7. Where am I? I want you to be on your best behavior, my mother warned. Yes, Mama, I promised. I want you to remember to say please and thank you, she lectured. Yes, Mama, I repeated. I want you to stay close to Dolores and don't wander off with people you don't know. Mama said as though she was completely unaware of the irony in her statement. Really? Like a strange woman? How many times has I said I didn't know this Auntie Dolores person? But I did not say that aloud, so instead I mumbled, yes, Mama. After dinner, my mother and I headed straight for her bedroom. Try on this, she said, handing me a dress made from a fabric my father had bought for me a while ago. My mother was a really exceptional seamstress. She designed my dress with a train, bolero, and matching head wrap. I didn't know who else was going to be there, but I did know I was going to be stepping in ready for video light. Now, I was going to be stepping in ready for the video light. Okay? So she's going to this thing with Auntie Dolores. She doesn't know who it is. She delivered the notes, and we're on to chapter 8. Sunday came quickly. The doorbell rang, followed by several minutes of loud laughter and commotion at the entrance before Mama emerged with a tall, slim woman. She rushed towards me and pulled me into her bosom and hugging me tightly. You remember me? She asked, pushing me away so I could get a good look at her. Oh my goodness, Priscilla. You know, see how your last daughter gets so big. Priscilla was my mother's name. Mama wasn't big on having friends either, so we hardly ever heard anyone call her by her name these days. Yes, she's getting ready to start City College this fall. Wow, Auntie Dolores said, nodding approvingly before getting right to the reason for her visit. You ready? Wow. Whoa. Not yet. Almost. I said, sorry, not yet. Almost, I said, as I scurried back to my room to finish getting dressed. As I did, I could hear them too catching up on old times and news from back home. I'd been sheltered for so long, I was nervous about going out to such a big event without my parents. Come, Jackie, let me take your picture so your father can see, my mother said, calling me out to where she waited with my father and Auntie Dolores. I posed, taking several pictures. Mama even let me sit in her living room, you know, the one room in the house that no one is allowed to go into. I started to feel grown, especially since children were not allowed in there. The mood was festive, and I started to think that maybe the night wouldn't be so bad after all. We said our goodbyes to Mama and made our way to the car where Auntie Dolores had a driver waiting. As we pulled off, she launched right into conversation. So you have a boyfriend? She asked, tilting her head as if to see my expression better. My eyes bulged out of my head, as you know, divulging this type of intel to parental friendly adults is a no-no. I just stared at her. She laughed. Girl, please. Me did the young one time too, Auntie Dolores said as she gently slapped me on the leg closest to her. I know your mother, she kind of old-fashioned, but you don't have to worry about me tonight. I come to get my groove on and have some fun, just as long as I can find it when it's time to go. She pushed up her bosom in her bra as to perk them up a bit. After which, after which she pulled out her contact mirror to reapply her some lipstick. I watched as she gave herself a wink and snapped it shut. What? Is this woman for real? She actually intends on leaving me unattended? I tried to remain calm and not to let on how alarmed I was for the rest of the ride. After about 20 minutes, we arrived at the wedding hall in Brooklyn. The music was thumping, reggae and calypso music streamed out the doors every time someone entered or exited. There were many men and women all dressed up in flashy sequins gowns, linen suits, flashy gold jewelry, and fanciful hairdos. It's getting popping right now, y'all. Hold on. Oops. So they have arrived. Let's see what's going to happen here. My eyes were full to the brim with vibrant array of characters in attendance. I thought to myself, I am definitely in for a night. Auntie Dolores walked me in and introduced me to a few people. Every introduction went something like this. You know, remember Priscilla and her husband, the one who did leave the island and come a foreign? You remember them, mom? Them used to live in at the greenhouse with the orange veranda at the top of the lane. Yes, the husband used to work up at the factory. Then the person would have the vague, confused look until suddenly a light bulb moment occurred. Oh, yes, man, remember. Well, this is Jackie, them last daughter. Each and every time Auntie Dolores finally got around to saying who I was, they followed with, whoa, she grew a biggie. Anyway, that is pretty much how the night began. Auntie Dolores said she was going to the bar and asked if I wanted something to drink. I wondered if she was already drunk to be asking me about alcohol. Just in case, I made a point of requesting juice. She came back with 2 cups. She handed the one, she told me it was punch and said to drink up. Alone in a room full of strangers, I resorted to one of my favorite pastimes, people watching. Boy, people are some funny creatures to watch. I kept track from who was drunk to who was eating all the food and who was having a fight with their lover. Welcome to all those who just joined us. I must have gotten lost in time because I suddenly realized I hadn't seen Auntie Dolores in over an hour. I decided to check by the bathroom, but when I tried to stand, I felt a little dizzy. I didn't know why, but I figured that was probably just hungry. I was probably just hungry. My parents bless up sis wagwan. My parents often warned me about Nyamina Road, so I was apprehensive about eating the food served at the reception. But I decided that on my way back from the bathroom, I would definitely get more of that delicious fruit punch. Back at my people watching station, I spied 2 young men walking in who looked strangely familiar. The dim lighting over the dance floor made it difficult to make them out. But I was almost certain that Trevor had appeared before me, making the other guy, Devon. As they approached closer, one of the strobe lights shone and highlighted a side of the mysterious boy's face. I squealed with excitement. It is them. Quick, look natural. No, check to make sure you look all right. Now was my chance. Trevor and I could talk all about how he was checking for me too, and how he had just as much of a crush on me as I did on him. From a near distance, I saw Devon whispering to Trevor. I watched as Trevor looked my way, kiss his teeth, wave his hand dismissively in my direction while making his way to the drinks table. Huh? What was that about? Lost in a moment of distress, I didn't notice that Devon continued to advance towards me, smiling. No, smiling is an understatement. He was cheesing from ear to ear. He offered himself a seat and proceeded to inch up very close to my right leg. What's up, Jackie, my love? I was disoriented. I was too disoriented to focus. He leaned in and rested his hand on his jaw and just stared at me. The burning sensation of his laser beam stare snapped me back to my senses and forced me to assess my current situation. Something was going on, and I needed to find out what was up. Hey, Devon, I began. Surprised to see you here. Yeah, my family knows the couple who got married. Small world. Yes, small world indeed, I retorted. Everybody, welcome to the discussion. We are not discussion, I'm used to saying that. The reading of Island Love, Urban Coming of Age Novella. It's clean entertainment, y'all. Clean entertainment. It can be done, right? Where am I? Oh, so I half-heartedly spoke. He said, yes, small world indeed, I retorted. I half-heartedly spoke to Devon as I watched intently to see where Trevor went next. He kept slipping out of sight. Devon? Yes, babes. He answered, prepared to grant whatever I asked for next. Can you watch my purse for a minute, I asked. Wait, why did he call me babes? I couldn't stop to rebuke him. I needed to speak to Trevor first. I could always come back and straighten Devon out later. No worries, sweets, I heard Devon reply obligingly as I walked away in search of his cousin. I will be right here when you get back. Finding Trevor was my priority, but suddenly I had a more pressing issue. My bladder made demands overriding my heart and forced me off to the ladies' room. As surprised as I was to be making my second trip to the bathroom so soon, I was stunned by what I saw in the hallway when I was done. Zebulon, y'all following the story? This joint is funny. Um, You wouldn't believe who I saw pressed up against some girl wearing a cock-off ponytail and what looked like only half of a gown, probably meant for her little sister. You guessed it. No, Trevor, is this what he thought of my note? Was this his answer? Should I say something to him or just walk away? He was smiling and whispering into her ear. I could not help but to stare at them. So many questions were swimming around in my mind. I had never seen this girl before. She's not from our school or our neighborhood. None of that mattered now, and what happened next, I was certainly not prepared for. Trevor caught me staring at him in disbelief, and just as we made eye contact, he went in for a big, passionate kiss. He initiated. I saw him. She was there playing with the collar of his button-down charcoal gray shirt, and he was there stroking the strands of her lopsided ponytail. As soon as he saw me come out of the bathroom, he cut his eye at me. Then right there, for everyone to see, he put his lips right on his hallway jubbie. Their heads started moving back and forth. I could not believe my crush was playing kissy face in the hallway right in front of me. I was hurt. Is this why they called it a crush? Trevor had crushed my heart. I hung my head and walked back to the table where Devon was sitting. As I approached him, I could see the gleam of his perfectly aligned teeth shining in the dimly lit room. He was bubbling and excited, but I was too disappointed to ask him about what. Devon started talking, and I was in no mood to scold him. My heart was too heavy, so I let him prattle on uninterrupted. I knew you were the one ever since I laid eyes on you in the 6th grade, he said. I am glad you finally come around. Jackie, he reached for my hand to put into his and looked deeply and longingly into my eyes. I can't wait to come and ask your parents for permission to marry you. My ears were listening to Devon, but my eyes were glued on Trevor and Ponytail Girl, who decided to bring their show to the dance floor. Married? I repeated, still in a trance and only half listening. What are you talking about, Devon? The note, Jackie. The one you gave me the other day about you having a crush on me. I have told you for years that I want more than a schoolyard affair. Girl, I'm going to make you my wife. What note, Devon? Oh, the note. Wait, which note? Shock and dismay washed over me as I realized that I had given Trevor the wrong note. And now Devon thinks I want to be with him. Sweaty, my palms began to sweat profusely. The shock was too much to bear. What was I going to do? What could I say? Trevor and his hallway hot stuff were on the dance floor when suddenly the music switched to one of my favorite lovers rock songs. They danced slowly before me. He was rocking away as she lost herself in his embrace. There was nothing I could do. I felt my heart burning inside. They started to do a provocative looking slow whine that was way too advanced for me. Jackie, come, let's dance, I heard Devon say. I was upset, embarrassed, and didn't want Trevor to think he got one over on me, so I accepted. Devon was the perfect gentleman. He held my hand. Y'all laughing? Yo, this is funny. So she switches up the notes on accident because it's a whole rush thing. And now she gets this proposal, and now she's stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? She doesn't, so she's trying to save face now and dances with him and lets the dude think that she's into him. Devin was the perfect gentleman. He held my hand and danced slow. He looked at me lovingly. He kept a safe distance and didn't try and touch my behind or anything. For the first time in the most confusing moment in my life, I saw Devon differently. I don't know how, what it was. Maybe the punch, maybe I was hurting, or maybe he really was a good guy. All I knew was that at that moment, just for that moment, I forgot about everything. After the dance, Devon escorted me back to the table and said he had to make rounds greeting everyone, but he would be back soon. Auntie Dolores finally appeared after being missing for hours. She claimed that she came back to check on me and make sure I was having a good time. I was far from having a good time and was ready to leave. I hope you're not ready yet, she shouted above the music, because I am having such a great time. She wasn't kidding. Now that I looked at her, I saw that her bangs were pasted to her forehead with sweat. Y'all know that club look. The bangs was pasted to her forehead with sweat, and the nice sequence heels she had on, she wore coming, were now in her hands. She sat for a moment, rubbing her bunions and smiling at a man in an orange suit. As soon as the song changed again, she boogied barefoot right back towards the dance floor. Devon turned to me not too long after. Oh, let me check the time. What time is it? I'm sorry, y'all. I got 8 o'clock show to do. I'm over here. Okay. Devon returned to me not too long after, just as he said he would. He stayed and we spoke for most of the night. He told me about his plans for college and what he planned to study. He asked about my family and what I wanted to become after school. As we spoke, there were times that I could see his cousin, Trevor, through my peripheral vision, signaling to him that he was ready to go. I never turned to look at Trevor directly, but I was able to make out him waving his hand and pointing to him his watch impatiently. But Devon kept waving him off, determined to make his time with me last, if only to learn about or share one more detail with me. Eventually, Trevor grew impatient enough to walk over to where we were sitting. Cause I don't want to break up your date, but it's time to go. Devon had driven there and he didn't want it to be a problem, so he elected to pull the car around. As he waited, Trevor stood at a close distance with his back turned. Should I speak or should I wait for him to speak? I decided I didn't have much time until Devon came back. My curiosity rose and I just had to find out what Trevor was thinking after this mix-up. Did you get my note? I asked. I wanted to tap his shoulder, but I didn't. Yes, and as you can see, I found me a girl that's right for me. He replied, coldly spilling the words I'd written in the note back at me. Let me explain. Wait, I stammered. No, you wait. I didn't approach you. You were the one always looking at me. And when you finally have something to say, you right to reject me? He said, ticking off each of the facts as if it were the fingers on his left hand. But I see you had been all buddy-buddy with my cousin now. He's the better man for you anyways, because to be my girl, you have to put out. Put out. Hold on. So Trevor is in his feelings. My little fancy dancy thing falling off, y'all, for all the faces I'm doing. Put out. Even as I repeated the words, I wasn't sure what he meant by them. I didn't have enough time to ask. Trevor made sure to rub in how attractive he found Ponytail Girl and emphasize every curve on our body. Energetically, then announced that because she was his type, he would be dating her. I was flabbergasted. I was completely speechless anyway, so I let him vent. He was truly upset and continued a rant that went between how sexy that girl was and how rude I was for writing him that letter. I never got the chance to say that he got the wrong note. To be honest, I wasn't sure that he had anymore. I hadn't realized he was done lecturing me until he stormed off towards the door, pushing Devon, who had just returned from bringing his car around. I just sat there watching him. Suddenly, Devon stood up in front of me, filling my gaze and blocking my view of Trevor. He was saying something about seeing me again and meeting my parents before he left for college next week. I tried to focus on what he was telling me, but at that point, everything was just too much. My parents. I had already had enough excitement for the night, and I would have to cross that bridge when I got to it. Devin reached out for a hug, and for the first time, I let him hug me. His arms were so warm and inviting, I found comfort there until I remembered where I was. We were surrounded by adults who, while seeming to be about their own business of enjoying the festivities, were perfectly capable of mentally recording every detail and reporting back to my parents what they had seen and what they thought about it. I found my way back to my station, as I called it, and a few minutes later, Auntie Dolores reappeared in a huff, saying she was ready to go. She seemed agitated. I didn't ask, and she didn't tell. My parents were already asleep when I got home. Needless to say, I didn't sleep that night. I went to my room and thought over the entire night. Although I was disappointed about Trevor, Devin managed to pique my interest, and suddenly I found him more appealing. It was still young. I was still young and had just graduated from high school, but hearing him speak about me being his wife still intrigued me. At least it was a very interesting concept. Wednesday came and I hadn't seen or heard anything from Devon since the reception on Sunday. I began to wonder if he had been serious about talking to my parents. My mother made oxtail, rice and peas, fried plantain, and garden salad for dinner that night, which happened to be another one of my favorite meals. As I prepared to set the dinner table, the doorbell rang. Smiling, my father asked me to answer it. I opened the door to find Devon standing there with a bouquet of flowers. Devon, what are you doing here? I asked, not able to believe that he really came. I'm here to speak with your parents, my love, he answered. Huh? What? Is he kidding? The dizziness had finally subsided, and to be honest, I spent the last 3 days just trying to figure out what really happened between us. Devon explained that during that time, he told his parents about the intention and that his parents called my parents. Welcome, everybody who just joined us. The adult spoke on the phone at length about his intentions to marry me and ultimately agreed to him discussing it with them over dinner tonight. What kind of madness was this? Was high school graduation some kind of magic threshold? Had I crossed yet another unexpected passage into womanhood? Up until now, looking at man was a curse word from the pits of hell, and even the mere intention of one would land me in hot water. Yet there I was, letting man into my house to share dinner with my family at the same table where Dada had his cinnamon tea and read the paper. I wasn't sure what would come next, but I realized that he was still patiently standing in the doorway, waiting for me to invite him in. Apprehensively, I stepped to the side and gestured for him to come inside. I could smell his cologne as he passed. His shoes were shined, and from head to toe, there wasn't a spot or wrinkle on him. He could not stop smiling the entire night, and for the first time since I've known him, I was the one in awe. Trevor Monroe, what's going on? Can you believe Dada and Mama took to Devon right away? They were warmer, inviting, and surprised. They were warm, inviting, and surprisingly receptive to the idea of us getting married sometime in the future. Devon told them that he knew he loved me for a very long time, and teased that until now I played hard to get and made things difficult for him. I couldn't stop looking at him. He was amazing, and he seemed to have won my parents over so easily with his charm. How did I miss it? I listened as my parents gave him hard-earned praise, saying that they could tell that he came from good parenting and his family had a good reputation in the community, and that they would love to have him as a son-in-law someday. Devon assured my parents that he planned to attend college first, and only after graduation and securing a career would he return to claim me as his bride. So she gets a proposal, y'all, straight out of high school, right? But she wanted Trevor though. I didn't say much, and I don't remember being asked much either. Once dinner was over, I asked Devon if we could go out to the front porch and speak. He seemed eager to have a moment alone with me and agreed. We stood outside. This is different, I thought. Why so quiet, Jackie? Devon asked. I didn't know how to start the conversation. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to confess about the note at all. I stood still. Jackie, do you know I really love you with all my heart? Devon said. I want to give you the word, make you happy, and never cause you pain. Susie, Susie, you missed quite a bit. You might have to look it on the replay. But glad you joined us. He sounded so sincere, plus my parents loved him. I could not bring myself to tell him about the note. It didn't matter now, I tried to tell myself. Do y'all think she should have told him about the note? Who thinks she should have told him about the note? Let me know your thoughts. I'm leaving this Sunday to start the summer semester. I'm going to become an architect, and when I'm done, I'm going to make you my wife. The school is only upstate, so we can stay in touch. I'll be back often. Please promise you will write and call me often. Devon sounded so confident while speaking about his plans, but his voice weakened as he sought my assurance that I would write and call him while he was away. All I could do was muster up a smile. That was enough. He took that as my agreement and left. Over the next 4 years, Devon studied to be an architect and I studied to become a writer. Before we knew it, graduation was around the corner and graduation meant wedding. When the time came, I attended Devon's graduation with my family, and his family joined him when he attended mine. They began to bond as prospective in-laws, and everyone looked forward to the big day. Was I really ready to get married? I had grown to love Devon, and we promised each other we would wait until we were married to become intimate. Surprisingly, we kept that promise. He proved he was everything that I needed, but I still wasn't sure if I was ready to be a wife. I had long put Trevor out my mind, especially after I heard he ended up doing time for aggravated assault. Ponytail girl, who I later found out was really named Pam, ended up becoming his baby mama. And by the time we finished undergrad, he had 2 children with her and 1 on the way. It was hard for Trevor to get a good paying job. And the last I heard, he hung out at a liquor store all day, rolling dice and chanting reggae lyrics. So there we are up to chapter 9. I'm gonna have to come back and read that. That a lot happened, okay? So come back, come back for chapter 9 so we can find out, now that 4 years have passed, they were engaged since out of high school. Devon did everything the right way. Jackie still has a secret. And Angel says honesty determines the quality of the communication. And I would agree. So Jackie chose to, because Trevor, his reaction, it turned her off. She let it go, and then she loved the one who loved her, which was Devon. And so we're gonna see how it goes when you join us for chapter 9. What time is it? Should I read chapter 9? Let me know. If y'all listening, I don't know, let me think. Because it gets kind of crazy. Now I'm gonna come back and read chapter 9. It's chapter 9 and chapter 10. And remember, let me see. Chapter 9 and chapter 10. Yeah. Nope. We got 11. I forgot how many chapters is in here. Hold on one second. Yeah. There's 12 chapters. What time is it? Like I said, I got a show in a few. No. I got a show in a few. So I'm going to go prepare for the show. On Debate Talk for you. We're going to be having a discussion, peer review. So we'll come back and read chapter 9, most high willing, tomorrow. Hopefully after Taco Tuesday, if I'm not too tired. So again, thank you for joining us. Feel free to share this video. If you missed any of it, go back to the beginning, or it's all on YouTube on the Solonomics catalog. So stay tuned. Everybody have a blessed day. Thanks for tuning in, YouTube. We'll talk to you again soon.